Hello, fellow marketers. I'm Brian Bowie, and welcome to another episode of Directive R&D. In today's lab, I'm going to be talking about sponsored webinars and telling you if they work or they don't. Short answer, yes, they have worked. And we've been testing them across the last few years. And time and time again, we have seen deals directly sourced from webinars, sponsored webinars, as well as influenced. So today, I kind of wanted to share some tips and things we've learned from running sponsored webinars over the last few years. And it's timely because we just had one yesterday with Garrett as a host and partnering with Search Engine Journal to run a webinar. But yeah, some quick tips that we've learned to make sure, like if you were to consider allocating some spend here to do some sponsored webinars, some things to keep in mind. One, you got to make sure you have great content. We're lucky enough to have Garrett, who's a thought leader in our space. Two, you got to have, you make sure that whoever you're partnering with has the right audience. So when you're screening and evaluating a lot of different sponsored webinars, ask the nitty-gritty details about what type of people show up, what type of companies show up, how many leads they estimate, or how many registrants they estimate, how many total attendees they estimate. And you can run your own analysis to see how many leads you think you can turn into real meetings and eventually opportunities and deals. So ask all those questions so that you can make sure you're doing the maths to financially validate if this is a good choice for you. Next thing, you got to make sure you have your nurture set up and you're ready to follow up with these leads because you just don't want to host a webinar and not do anything with those leads that you're getting. Part of why it works well is if you have an active SDR team that's actively following up with people that seem engaged with the webinar. Another tip, at the end of our webinar, we made sure to have a clear call to action to add additional value to the listeners or any of the registrants, which was to sign up for our community of SaaS marketers, which is a free community where they can be connected with our own internal demand gen experts for any real-time insights or tips. So for us, it wasn't too promotional, but we wanted to make sure we still added some value if people had more questions about the webinar or anything related to SaaS marketing. And then my last tip, make sure you plan ahead with everything happening in the world lately. A lot of in-person event spend has moved to digital. So webinars, sponsored webinar spots have been filling up really quickly, and for good reason. They work. And prices are increasing, spots are filling up. So, yeah, I would get ahead of it if you're going to want to test it, and you might have to include it in your media plan 6 months, 12 months out. So if you plan to test it, which I would recommend, yeah, plan ahead. So wanted to share those quick tips around sponsored webinars and if they can work or not. Check out Search Engine Journal, who is a great partner for us. And we're excited for our next one in August. So look out for that. Thanks for your time, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.